Hi, so my name's Paula Carley. I'm a service development coordinator, and I'm mostly based at Longsight Library. I work with a group of libraries, but throughout the years I've kind of spent a lot of time at this library. This particular library, Longsight Library, I mean it's got quite an amazing offer really, in that it's just a real sort of jewel in the kind of community. So I'd kind of say it's more probably what don't we have in a way. You know, we are a really kind of vibrant part of our local community. The thing that inspires me most is that we have something for everyone. So we're a really kind of easily accessible place for people, you know. So we have I mean, it was incredible. So I think it was maybe about 3 years ago or something, we had this, we had company Chameleon here, which is, you know, a Manchester-based but international dance company. And so we had them here, and they performed throughout the library space. And I remember there was a couple of quite youngish mums here with their small children. That was just, I mean, even think about it brings tears to my eyes now. I mean, that was just fantastic. So there's these, you know, couple of little kids who are just in their element, who are kind of striking all these poses that the dancers are doing. And it's just the knowledge that you know that those kids very possibly would not have seen a dance company at that age if they'd had to go into town. You know, I'm not sure I was taking my kids to, you know, really quite incredible cultural events. But if it had been happening in the local library, I'm sure I would have been there. So I think that's what really inspires me, is that we're kind of bringing, you know, sort of culture into people's lives by bringing it onto their doorsteps. And that's just beautiful. It's really lovely. I feel very privileged that I've been able to work in libraries, actually, because it just meets so much of what I kind of want in my working life. I feel very lucky in that I get to meet loads of people. So I'm always, you know, each day is kind of different from another. I'm also in my sort of personal life, I kind of do my own artwork and things like that. And what I love is within this job, I've been able to kind of find ways of doing that as well. So I love that it gives me the opportunity to be really creative. I love that I get to meet lots of really interesting people from all sort of walks of life, you know, that I just wouldn't have working in an office. On the staff team, I mean, library staff are just, they're lovely, you know. I think that's just been quite amazing to kind of work with such a really nice bunch of people, and everyone mostly kind of gets on, and, you know, I think I just get loads out of it. But probably the diversity, so I'm never doing the same thing. There's always a lot of different things I'm doing. When I first started with libraries, my job was to basically read stories to children. So I was what do we call ourselves, a family link library worker. And so it was in this library. So we used to run 2 story sessions a week at that time. And I remember we had quite a lot of parents and carers, and their children would be at them. And I remember this one day seeing this very tall man and his very small child kept on kind of walking backwards and forwards across, you know, past what we were doing. So I was saying, you know, just come and join us. And so he did. He kind of came and sat quite shyly. And it's always a real plus when we get the dads and, you know, kind of male carers coming in and bringing their children, because as you imagine, it's mostly women that we have attending. So his child was very young, was maybe only like 8 months old or something like that. And at the end, I was just sort of talking to him, and I was saying, "Oh, have you been here before?" And he comes to the library loads, and he was like a foreign student doing a PhD here, and so he's in the library a lot, and he's a new dad to his first child, so would quite often bring this child sort of with him while he was in you know, looking for books and studying and stuff. And it was just lovely. So from that day onwards, I was like, you know, just bring her, you know, we do this every Thursday, bring her along. And I got to see that little girl grow up with us. And what was really, really kind of fantastic was that I had this conversation with him about, you know, his child and reading to young ones. And I always remember he was saying to me, you know, yeah, but she's too young to kind of read to. I was like, no, they're never too young. And, you know, and I would be encouraging to take out books for her. And I was saying, you know, we offer library cards from the day a child is born. And that was just lovely, because he became like, that was his thing that he did with his daughter. And every time they were in the library, she would come running up to me and say hello. And, you know, they would pick books together. And he would sit in here with her just for hours at times, reading books. So that for me was just to kind of like, okay, this is why it's really important what we're doing. Through no fault of his own, he just had never thought, like loads of people, they don't really think about, you know, reading books with babies because they can't read. And we were kind of like, no, this is all part of their education, you know, and it's really good fun, and it's bonding, and it's you know, really kind of makes them ready for school and that down the years. So I think for me that was my favourite story, because I just kind of, it really made me think, you know, people used to say, oh, what do you do? And I was like, well, I read stories in libraries. And it's really easy to kind of minimise that, but actually what you're doing is you're part of kind of activating change in people's life and empowering them, and it's all growth also. I've always, throughout all my life, at various points, have kind of thought, oh, I'd love to work in a library. You know, libraries were really important to me when I was growing up. I was quite a voracious reader. So I really loved libraries, and I've always felt very kind of comfortable in them. But I hadn't really actively done much about it. And I've done lots and lots of different work, and a lot of the work I've done has been very sort of community kind of type of work. And I was in this one job that I absolutely hated. I really hated it. And it was all about to implode and explode at the same time. So I was really kind of like, oh, right, I've got to get another job. You know, I've kind of need now not to be kind of facing unemployment. You know, I have children and stuff. And I had happened to be on the local allotments where I live, and I'd been talking to a woman who since that time has become a friend of mine, and she was just saying to me, she said, oh yeah, she said, she said, oh, you should apply for a job with us. You know, I work in libraries, and I work for the Family Link library team. And, you know, she said, we go into the community and into libraries, and we read stories. So I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like my kind of job. And that was it, really. That was so, you know, I applied to do it, and luckily, you know, got the job. Lovely. The only interview that I've ever had where they've asked me to bring a picture book along and read it to them. So that was gorgeous. So it was great. And that was the beginning of it, really. And then my role has changed and developed and moved into different kind of areas. One of the kind of areas of work that we've been doing over the last few years is we've been developing libraries of sanctuary. So we're sort of applying to be a library of sanctuary, and I think there's 4 Manchester libraries that are applying to do that. And so as part of that, we've really kind of upped the work that we do with sanctuary seekers, and I've really kind of tried to find ways to kind of really make sure that we're kind of reaching, you know, a community that are kind of often getting left behind. You know, I knew that there was a couple of women that I worked with, the sanctuary seekers, who would be interested in doing a story session. One of them had been a nursery teacher in Iran before she left. And so that was just lovely. I kind of found, I kind of talked with these 2 women about whether we could do a multi-language story session. And so we met up every week for maybe about 3 weeks before we actually delivered the story, and we used Kate Milner's My Name Is Not Refugee. It's a fantastic little story about, you know, a sort of child's perspective of fleeing a country. And we were really kind of like, oh, I hope this is going to work. So it was in Farsi, Yoruba and English that we did this session. And we'd had, it was just lovely that, you know, by doing this session, sort of reading the book together, kind of translating it, loads of conversations came out around, you know, language and first language and how important it is. And so, you know, one woman was sort of saying that she really felt that her children, who are now sort of, you know, teenagers, were just losing their kind of mother tongue, and that was, you know, just how upsetting that was. So we had all these fascinating conversations, and it was like seeing magic unfold. It was absolutely incredible. So there was all these babies and everything crawling around, all these parents talking to each other, and as we started to read this book, you know, page by page in each language, it's like all these babies just kind of went, like it just became really silent. And they were really, really kind of like concentrating. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely. And at the end, with the feedback, so a couple of the mums were like, that was so brilliant. You know, we're Farsi speaking. I have never been to a Farsi. We've never been to a story session that's been read in Farsi before, and that's massively important for not only, you know, them but their children. So yeah, that's probably one of my favourite stories. We just have all sorts of people. We have teenagers coming in who are kind of interested in each other, you know, rather than anybody else or any books or whatever, you know, that I think a lot of parents are like, yep, okay, you can go to the library to study. But there's, you know, maybe a whole dating scene going on actually, really. That's what happens. We have folk who come to libraries who need a bit more kind of help with stuff. And that's very much, you know, a big part of our communities in all of libraries. I don't just mean Longsight Library, but there's, you know, we're really kind of there for folk. We have folk coming in who are looking for information around homelessness, around domestic abuse, around all sorts of things. And to me, in all my years of being here, I mean, I am kind of continually, it's like, wow, okay, this is where you're coming to find out that information. And it just makes me really kind of realise that actually how we are seen, you know, we are seen as very safe kind of and important part of people's lives. So it's not that we're, you know, it's all troubled people by any means that we've got coming in the library, because, you know, we have loads of people who just come in and sit in front of computers and use computers and, you know, like to kind of socialise with each other. But we do also, I would say, offer a very particular type of service for those people who need information. You know, that we are kind of one of the people that they will come to and trust with information.